may be on a collision course. Like, I think there's 3 cars coming together at an intersection, and they don't realize they're going to hit. And one of them is Congress with Mike Johnson driving is in one of these cars. Trump obviously is one of these cars. Maybe he's the train. And then there's another car, which is DOGE. And I don't think Elon Musk is going to suffer these fools once he finds out how foolish they are or duplicitous they are. You don't land rockets backwards. You don't get cars to drive themselves on the interstate by ignoring the fools that you're working with.
Well, I guess I probably just gave away where I stand on the whole Trump Musk right there. But we'll talk about the whole thing tonight. First, though, welcome everybody to the Rescue Michigan Sunday night live stream. Hey, Patty, thanks for joining us again.
Hey.
Have you had a good week? I know I've been outside a lot this week.
It's been, me too. I'm a little red. Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it was a busy week. I went to Livonia City Council candidate forum on Monday.
Yeah.
And they have 17 candidates running.
Wow.
For 8 spots in the primary, which will go down to 4 spots in the general. Well, I think 16 now. Somebody at the forum actually suspended her campaign, so it's down to 16.
Oh.
So so it was just down the street. So I went, and that was good. And then
cool. I got a call from a friend the other day whose neighbor was giving away their piano.
Mm-hmm.
I had to figure out how to acquire a piano, which it turns out is very difficult. So that was like a whole day's work, and now I own a piano, and I just have to figure out how to play it. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, you should play it on the show. Actually, correction, that forum was Tuesday. Monday night was the 6th congressional meeting. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I was in Milan today, and a guy was selling these. You've probably seen these before, the wooden American flags, where they take a sheet of wood. Sometimes they contour it to look like the flag is blowing in the breeze. And then they paint it to look like an American flag. He was selling those. Okay. So we're going to have him at our art fair booth. So that'll be exciting.
Oh, cool. That's a good collaboration. Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome.
Anyway, so I guess the big story today, Trump is actually doing the right thing and cracking down hard on these leftist riots going on in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Over their concern, their anger, their hatred of Trump enforcing our immigration law and securing the border. So,
I mean, did you feel like you've seen the mayor of LA more now than you did during the fires?
Yeah, it's, I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. So the big story this week was our friend Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia was back in the news again. Remember the guy who was...
He's back. Didn't they fly him back?
Yeah, they flew him back because, not because Judge Zenas ordered them to, they didn't have any obligation to, but because they decided, it might be nice to, is that we actually dug into this guy's history, and it turns out he is actually, we have enough to charge him now with about 1,000 counts of human trafficking. So we'll go ahead and do that. And
okay.
They also found out another thing. Remember his backstory, the reason why he didn't want to be deported back to El Salvador? Like, that was the whole thing, was he was
gang violence.
Yeah, he was lawfully deported, but then they got this order saying he wouldn't be deported back to El Salvador because he was being targeted by the 18th Street gang, because according to his attorney, or according to him, his attorney had him write it, the gang, they loved his mother's pupusas so much that they were shaking down his family for their pupusa business, and that's why he can go back to El Salvador. Well, it turns out the reason actually was because he was involved in the murder of one of the 18th Street gang members' mothers. So that's why I didn't want to go back to El Salvador.
Oh, okay.
So after he serves it's a 10-year sentence he could get for each one of these thousands of cases of human trafficking he's involved with. So after he serves his 10,000-year sentence, or if he's acquitted or let go by a Democrat in the future, then he will also just be sent straight back to El Salvador. So for his crimes in El Salvador. So yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, so in light of all this, in light of the Democrats' narrative on immigration unraveling, they decided to have a riot. So Trump has apparently, over the objections of the local authorities, dispatched the National Guard and dispatched even some Marines are on standby. So that situation is developing.
Which, it's in his purview to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's securing our country from, frankly, from an invasion and an insurrection, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Democrats opened that door, didn't they? So, you know, on this score, Trump has been outstanding. He is not joking around.
Well, I mean, he had said that during George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
Wait, no, he was still president then. He didn't send him in though. They probably tried to stop him. Right?
Well, there was the protest in D.C. and then at one point, remember, this is when Bill Barr betrayed him, when the rioters were like destroying some church or something in Washington D.C.
St. John's Church.
Yeah, that was it, I think. And Bill Barr claimed that Trump was using the Marines for political purposes and blah blah blah, and that was all.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Dwayne. Dwayne's on Twitter tonight.
Hey guys, good to see you, Dwayne. Hey, Stephen. You're not lurking when you speak out, you know.
Yeah, who's Stephen Gothal?
The people lurking are all you other guys who are not responding in chats. The folks on Rumble who haven't said anything yet. They're the lurkers. Stephen, you're out there and might have not said much yet, but you're no longer a lurker, buddy. You no longer qualify for that. Jason, we'll talk about Ukraine in a second, Jason. But first, we got to get to the big story. I guess that's the big thing, the big mega blow up between Elon and Trump. And I don't know. A lot of people are taking Trump's side on this, but I think we should first of all unpack this entire thing because there's a lot to start with. So, I mean, first and foremost, it's not about the personalities; it's about the policy, and I think we have to come back to that. There's a reason why Elon is mad at Trump, and it's not because, contrary to Trump's claims, that there was no EV funding in the big beautiful bill or any of that nonsense. But that Elon was very, very much opposed to this so-called big beautiful bill and had been saying for a very long time that the national debt is our number one issue. Anyone who doubts Elon's authenticity about this, like, of all the things Elon Musk could have done in the Trump administration, he was like, I want to be in charge of the new organization that will be tasked with removing waste, fraud, and abuse from government. That was his thing. DOGE was his thing. I want to cut waste. I want to cut abuse. I want to cut spending. We're going to find every which way possible. We can cut the budget back. And that's what he did. And
they're saying he was making promises he's going to find like $1 trillion and he only found like 100 million or something. Did you hear that?
More than that. I mean, he found billions for sure. At least 100 billion, 150
billion, not 100 million. Okay.
Which even still, I mean, okay. So he didn't find as many dollars to cut as he wants to yet. He's gone
of
all the things that he did cut, Congress would cut none of them. And then a few months ago, there was a vote. There was a vote in the U.S. Senate, and it was a vote to codify the rescissions that DOGE made to foreign aid. And America's best senator, U.S. Senator Rand Paul, put it up for a vote saying, I want to rescind these cuts that DOGE made permanently to all these foreign countries. That's not where American tax dollars should go. And he got clobbered. The vote was like 37-63 or something like that.
And how many votes would he have needed for that to pass? 50 or 60?
I think 51 because it was an amendment.
Okay.
So he got nothing there. And then in the big, beautiful bill, there was no cuts there either. So anyway, so Elon was more than a bit mad about that. And remember last week, we were talking about this last week before the real blow up happened. And they had this nice, happy ceremony in the White House. And I said then, I was like, this is all just for PR, guys. I guarantee you this is not a happy thing. It's when in the chat says, no, Elon's term was expired. That's all. No big deal. I was like, no, Elon's mad. There's no question. There's been a problem.
Was that when he had the black eye from Besant?
Yeah. So anyway, I've got a lot of slides and things from X, but I want to start with this one. This is from Warren Davidson, who was one of the two members of the House, along with Thomas Massey, who voted against the BBB, the big bilious bill. And he says, faulty premises. One, without BBB, we couldn't raise the debt limit, so we would default on the debt. We would raise the debt limit in the big beautiful bill. Without BBB, would get it. These are all false premises. He's saying, without BBB, everyone would get a tax increase because the Trump tax cuts from his past term would expire. Well, we could still cut taxes. We just passed the no tax on tips thing 100 to 0. And this, I think, is a huge point on so many things that I'm seeing people post about the BBB, all these reasons why they say we have to pass this because if we don't, X will happen. If we don't pass this bill, X will happen. Okay, well then why shouldn't that be a thing anyway? Like here, for example, this is a perfect example. This is Jack Posobiec 4 days ago on X. He says, want mass deportations, pass the bill. And he repeats himself twice. You want mass deportations, pass the bill. And it reminds me of in 2015. I'm bringing this up because they're doing this again now. The House and Senate in Michigan said, and Rick Snyder especially said, we have to raise taxes or we can't fund our roads. We have to raise taxes. We can't fix our roads. Our roads are dangerous. People are dying on Michigan roads. We have to raise our taxes. And Snyder would tour around with this chunk of concrete that fell off a road, allegedly. He says, we're going to have more bridges collapsing on children and more kids dying if we don't raise our taxes to fix the roads. That's like, you're holding Michigan's taxpayers hostage because you won't cut anywhere else. Mm-hmm. You won't fix our roads. Now they're at it again. There's ads playing 24/7 on YouTube from the Michigan Infrastructure and Transportation Association. Tell your representatives to invest more money in our roads. It's like, okay, well, somehow Michigan's budget went up by $20 billion in the last 10 years. They didn't fix the roads. Guess what they're going to say? We need to raise taxes to fix the roads because we can't possibly cut anything anywhere else. Yep,
nowhere.
So why is it we need to pass BBB and raise the debt ceiling to get mass deportations? And of course, as you'll see, the replies to Posobiec on X were brutal. So this one, just to give you, I'll read a couple of these. We didn't vote for a surveillance state run by Palantir, crush under debt to international banksters, respect to mass deportation on principle. And this guy responds, want to increase the debt by 20 to 30 trillion? Pass the bill. Want a transhumanist AI government? Pass the bill. Want a big government that's more intrusive? Pass the bill. That's another thing that, to her credit, Marjorie Taylor Greene came out with, because she voted for the thing. And then when people started calling attention to the fact that there was a little provision tucked in that 1,000-page bill to say that state and local governments may not impose any regulations on AI for the next 10 years.
Oh, I heard that today or yesterday.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, hey, I didn't know about that when I voted yes on this. And
well, yeah, when it's 1,000 pages, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, she got beaten up for having not read the bill, but none of them that voted yes read the bill. No one reads the bills except for Massey, which is why he voted no. At least to her credit, she admitted to it. I mean, that's praiseworthy, I suppose. And that's just
read them. He has like people like take 100 pages, you take 100. Like, how do they do it?
Well, I can tell you, it can be done. When I worked in Benivolio's office, we got a couple of these 1,000+ page bills, and I remember Shelby, who was legislative counsel, she would spend the night reading them page by page, and a lot of pages you can scan through. And somehow she got it done.
Wow.
I forget where she is these days, but Shelby Emmett was fantastic. And she could read a 1,000-page bill in one night. It can be done. But she's an attorney. Most lawmakers are not. And also, most of them don't care to. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's just a big thing. And again, I mean, think about this, folks. Grassroots conservatives for years and years and years said, we oppose these 1,000-page bills. Trump calls it big, beautiful bill, and suddenly, oh, it's great. Yeah, we want a big, beautiful. We want a big, beautiful. It's big. It's beautiful. And now they find garbage like that buried in there. Which, by the way, you would think Elon Musk would like this bit, wouldn't you? Because he runs a big AI company, you know. Mm-hmm. But you know, they've been beating up Elon because of, I guess, the EV funding. Elon never said a word about the EV funding in the bill, and then. Like, I remember to that point of what Elon Musk thinks about how that bill will affect him financially. I remember the first time I met with a lobbyist for, I want to say it was General Motors when I worked in the Michigan House. And the guy sits down and he's like, well, I'll tell you what, almost every single bill you guys pass affects us in some way. So we just don't really stay involved in much of it, honestly. We stay out of most of it. We'd like A, B, and C means a couple of things. Strange, peculiar things I found, but whatever, never mind that for now. His point being, like, every single bill that you guys pass affects us in some way, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's all good. You know, is what he basically said. Mm-hmm. I think Elon would look at things the same way. He's like, you know, he's got X, he's got AI, he's got SpaceX, he's got, you know, so much defense contracts and stuff. He's at that level where the best thing for him in general is just that America does well.
That's the best thing for everybody. That's for all of us too. I mean, I don't know.
Anyway, just some more of these. Where's more replies to this?
You gotta hit the back arrow, I think.
Do I? Okay, yeah. There's a lot of these. Stop making these massive bills with 50 issues in it. How is this even legal? This is why Jack got an Epstein binder. So if this is the had you sworn your life, 10 million plus illegals will be deported. Congress didn't wrote another pork-filled bill, increases our debt. We didn't vote for that. This bill is loaded with BS. And this goes on and on and on. I mean, America is. You got one here. You got one here. Why America needs one big beautiful bill. What this bill delivers, and this is clearly just copied pasted from some talking points memo from some member. Putting the middle class first. Yeah, I can tell a politician wrote this. Putting the middle class first. Anyway, and people are saying all the things we're saying. Why not just create a bill just for mass deportations then? And again, all of these excuses the Republicans will have. Oh, the filibuster.
Yeah, but doesn't it I was just going to say, if they can't pass, if we don't have 60 votes, they can't do a lot of these things.
You can end the filibuster. The Democrats will
do that, right? So then they're not going to do that. So this is the option: have a bill that you can pass with 50, and then deal with the other stuff one by one, or whatever. I guess.
Why not end the filibuster? The Democrats have promised they'll end the filibuster the moment they can.
Yeah, but they haven't promised it yet. I mean, they had control up until 6 months ago, and they didn't do it. Yeah,
because Sinema and Manchin were in there. They said every single new Democrat we've screened for this, including Slotkin, who said she's against the filibuster. They're all on record. The instant the Democrats take majority in the Senate, they're going to kill the filibuster. So why would the Republicans allow themselves to be crippled by the Democrats for the entire time they're in the majority in both chambers? I mean, that's the thing is they always. This is what
we could end the filibuster. We still can't get 50 because we're.
Yeah, well, then that's what this really is all about. Then, because so why don't they do this? Is what's so frustrating with Trump. He will, at the drop of a hat, attack Thomas Massie. He'll attack Rand Paul. He'll never attack Lindsey Graham for voting no. He'll never attack Tom Tillis for saying I'm not going to vote for cutting government. He'll never attack Mitt Romney. He'll only attack. This is Trump's MO. He only attacks his friends. He never attacks his enemies, and it's so tiring.
Yeah, Massey's not his friend. Lindsey Graham is his friend.
Well, that's a black mark on Trump right there.
I know. I mean, it makes you wonder. Yeah, but he does. I know. I don't understand it either.
I mean, Lindsey Graham. We'll get to talking about Ukraine and stuff later on in the program, but yeah, I mean, he is going around the world acting as the president of the United States right now. Like, I'm going to we're going to put crippling sanctions on Russia that'll force China not to negotiate not to do business with Russia, or else we'll sanction you. And under what threat exactly is Lindsey Graham really conveying to Trump when he's doing this with Democrat Richard Blumenthal? Is we're going to vote against your agenda. We could even vote to impeach you if we wanted to. That's what Lindsey Graham's doing. He's threatening Trump.
Yeah, but he gets away with it. I mean, this is like Trump 2.0. I mean, this was stuff that was going on in the first term that we thought wouldn't happen again, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so just to go back to, because we've already been over this, but just because I want to underscore this. This is what really happened was after Elon did that nice kumbaya thing with Trump and getting the key to the White House, Elon posts this. I'm sorry, I just can't say that anymore. This massive, outrageous pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. And then here's a quote from a Trump washer. Reminder that this post is how it all started. And again, yes, let's remember this. This is how it all started.
Yeah,
was over Elon going after Trump on this point. That this is a bad bill. Going after Trump. I mean, technically, going after Congress, going after Mike Johnson. To which Will says, Elon should have handled this privately from the get-go. This post was very, very disrespectful. Excuse me?
He should have handled it privately.
I don't think so.
I think he should have. This was.
I think Elon probably had more than one conversation privately about this.
They what?
I think Elon probably did have a number of conversations about this privately. And Trump said, sorry, pal. But no.
Well, I mean, Trump is the president. Elon is not.
Yeah, we'll get to that topic in a second here. But first, just to go to this point, how is it disrespectful to criticize a bill for being bad? Like, I mean, that's first. I mean, that's first of all, every American's right. But secondly, you know, when you donate hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, Trump never disrespects Miriam Adelson. No, he's no problem with you know, going to war on behalf of Israel because you know he got all that money from Miriam Adelson. But Elon's money, oh well, screw him. He doesn't. We don't need to do anything for Elon. But I'll come back to that in a second. Anyway, so Elon felt more than a little disrespect. Here's what he posted: "Without me, Trump." Now this is probably a little bit hyperbolic, probably, but the point remains that Elon did put a lot of money into.
Put a lot of money in, yeah, a
lot of money. And at this point, when Elon is saying this now, this is after Trump has now started lying about Elon. He said that Elon just went crazy after I cut his EV subsidies, as if that was a story we can believe when it happened. When again, Trump says this after the fact. Same thing Trump just said about Putin recently. He just went crazy. Like that's what happens in real world, right, guys? People just go crazy for no reason.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah. Betty says, I just switched to YouTube because she couldn't see comments on Facebook. And here she also said on Facebook, I'm not happy with Trump or with Graham. Yeah, we'll talk more about Lindsey Graham too. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, folks. You remember when Trump's first election, he owed Wall Street nothing. He owed the swamp nothing because he got elected by grassroots alone. And what did he turn around to do? He put like Rex Tillerson in charge as Secretary of State. It got bad. It got bad to the point where Steve Bannon had to start his own group called We Build the Wall because Trump wasn't building the wall. And there was, you know, we forget about this now because in the 4 years in between the Trump presidencies, there was the impeachment hoaxes, there was the assassination, there was the lawfare, there were the criminal charges. And I think we all rallied to Trump, rightly so, because the Democrats had made this, you know, all these made supporting Trump, you know, a hill to die on. But Trump was, you know, we used to say in the first term, Jared Kushner is the real president, is what it seemed like a lot of the time. There's something to be said for Trump disrespecting the people that got him here. And Elon is a big one among them. And Elon is not alone in saying that we want spending to be cut. He's not the first person to say this. In fact, as I showed in the countdown of this video, Trump said that a lot himself, that we need to cut spending.
He has?
Well, yeah. During the countdown,
Trump is a huge spender, right? He hasn't lost that part of him, that Democrat part of him.
I mean, it's classic politician. They'll hate to see the government spend money until they're in charge of it, and then all of a sudden, well, something's right now that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So here was Rand Paul's wife, Kelly Paul. Elon's a brilliant man who literally saved free speech in this country. Yes, that is true.
That is true.
Exposed obscene fraud in the government and helped to get Trump elected. To smear Elon for speaking truth to power is vile. And I didn't bring up all of the Trump posts, but you guys have seen them already. I mean, they were vile. They were vile. And some of Elon's posts were vile too.
Yeah.
To be fair. But then Massey posts this article. Some politicians get into politics to enrich themselves. Maybe that's why they can't imagine someone would judge a bill based on what's good for the country. Article from December shows Elon wasn't in it for the EV tax credits. And Musk actually himself called for getting rid of the EV tax credit himself. So there you go, guys. This is the pattern. Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, the people who have been principled on everything from the get-go, standing with Elon on the principle of the issue. And then you've got this guy, Stephen Miller. Look at how dishonest this post is, talking about Rand Paul. The only new spending in the tax cut bill is homeland defense and security, offset by new fees on foreigners. The only other consequential spending provisions are more than 1.6 trillion spending in cuts. And as usual, Miller is using the dishonest DC politician math. Cuts off of the increases. The bill cuts projected spending increases, but spending will still increase from 6.8 trillion to 10.2 trillion by 2034. So actually, yeah, they're not cuts. They're cuts against increases. What they always, that's what Republicans say all the time. And Miller's going on a rampage against Trump, against Rand, which I understand because Miller works for Trump, but he's being dishonest here. And And this goes on and on and on. Here was Cernovich. Rand Paul is a taxpayer-funded podcaster. Despite 3 terms, he did nothing to cut USAID's money laundering operation. All the things he says he does, he doesn't do anything. He's just an influencer. To which Daniel McAdams, who, by the way, used to work for Ron Paul in the House, says, "Are you stupid? Voting no on appropriations is doing something. How about you take it up with the majority who voted yes? Yes on USAID. Rand Paul ran the amendment to codify the DOGE cuts. That's doing something. The ones who didn't do it were the ones that voted no on the cuts." Mm-hmm. So McAdams says, "Do you think you have some kind of super duper golden Jesus vote that would override all of those yes votes?" And voting right is doing things. And that's what Rand Paul. So, speaking rightly on the issue, voting right on the issue, introducing bills on the issue. And by the way, there is a bill in the U.S. Senate coming up like imminently. It might have already gotten the vote, actually. But it was this. We just heard about this like the middle of last week. Something called the Genius Act. Let's see if the Genius Act passed. I want to find this out real quick. It's a stupid bill to regulate stable coins. It's still in limbo, apparently. So it hasn't been a vote yet. But it's a bill in the U.S. Senate to regulate stable coins. And Rand Paul got an amendment in on auditing the Federal Reserve. The thing that Donald Trump has said he supports. The thing that Trump really should be pushing for right now, because guess who hates Trump and wants to wreck his presidency? Jerome Powell. Why don't you expose the Federal Reserve and all the terrible things they did to sabotage the economy and have a full audit of the Federal Reserve? Rand Paul got an amendment to the Genius Act to the Senate floor so that there could be a recorded roll call vote. And so we could know, first of all, maybe actually pass audit the Fed, but if not, at least get a recorded roll call vote on audit the Fed. That's called doing things. Mm-hmm. Doing things Trump wants. But all of these people are attacking Rand Paul because fundamentally they want access to Trump. I mean, that's the thing about all these conservative influencers. There's Cernovich and Posobiec and Bannon. By the way, Bannon went on what did Bannon post? He had this crazy post. Here's Bannon. If Elon's threatened to pull a major program from SpaceX, Trump should sign an executive order under the Defense Production Act, seize SpaceX today, before midnight tonight. Trump should seize SpaceX.
Oh, God.
Here's the thing, folks. All these guys are loving the fact that they have White House access. So they're going to shill for Trump no matter what the facts are, because that's what they want. I mean, look at this stuff. This is Posobiec. America can survive a budget deficit. It can't survive a mass invasion. Apparently, it's an either-or situation. We can't possibly secure the border without passing a spending bill to increase the deficit by, billions of dollars and the national debt by trillions. Anyway, so here is Thomas Woods, who, of course, does not have access to the White House. And he makes this point. Rand Paul defended Trump at times when other Republicans ran and hid. All through Russiagate. Rand insisted the whole thing was a witch hunt. Trump was innocent. In the first impeachment trial, Rand emerged as one of Trump's staunchest defenders in the Senate. Same for the second trial, which Rand denounced as absurd and political theater. Remember, folks, Mitch McConnell could have thrown both of those impeachments into the garbage just the way that Chuck Schumer threw the impeachment of Biden into the garbage. Or, I'm sorry, not Biden, Mayorkas. Rand defended Trump against campaign finance allegations. Establishment left and right alike went after Trump for the Syria withdrawal. The moment when Trump needed allies, Rand supported him. Likewise, for Trump's 2018 summit with Vladimir Putin, which we'll talk more about on this. You'd think he would say, thanks, Rand, for our support, especially when it was most difficult to stand in my corner when all the Republicans abandoned me. Now let's see if we can address your concerns. No, for some reason, Trump, who always will stick around with the Tom Tillises and the Lindsey Grahams and never attack them, will be the first to recruit a primary challenger against Rand Paul and Thomas Massie. It's infuriating. So
he did the same thing to Massie with the omnibus.
Yeah. So one thing I want to touch on.
What wasn't it, the CARES Act?
Huh?
The one during COVID that he voted no on, and he told me he was.
Oh yeah. Trump flipped out about the CARES Act too. What a great bill that was. What a great bill that turned out to be. But anyway, so the upshot was today, or maybe it was yesterday, Elon took down his post about the Epstein files. about saying that Trump was named the Epstein files.
Well, if that were true, it would have been out 10 years ago.
Well, maybe. Problem is, if you release one thing, you gotta release them all. And they don't want
Kash Patel was just on Joe Rogan. He said there's nothing.
Yeah, did you see the whole, by the way, and folks in the chat, did you guys all watch that Kash Patel interview with Rogan?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I just saw some clips, but
yeah, I watched the whole thing. I listened to it yesterday. Boy,
it was like, I did see the one part though where they found out about the fight, the Twitter war.
Yeah, they found about the fight on air. That was funny. But just Kash said,
Kash Patel's like, I'm staying out of it. He was like a chicken. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. You know how like there's certain things like when people say this, they're lying. Like when you accuse somebody of something, they say, "Why would I do that?" That's like a tell.
Well, the other tells are when people say honestly or to be honest with you or any kind of caveat like
Kash
that.
did all of those things like so many times in the whole interview, so many times.
FYI, people.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that interview is going to go good for Kash in the long run. Actually, in fact, let me go to this real quick. So this was James O'Keefe posted this. OMG, that's his new organization, reported first on the Attorney General Pam Bondi's statement. Remember that, folks? Pam Bondi. There are tens of thousands of Epstein videos, and they're all full of children in it. And in fact, here's the clip. Let me here. Can I make this full screen? Here we go.
This narrative might not be accurate. That there's video of these guys doing this.
Exactly.
There are tens and thousands of videos. Yeah, and it's all with little kids.
There are tens of thousands of videos with children or child porn.
If there was a video of some guy committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Don't you think you'd see it?
Don't you think I would tell you?
This narrative might not be accurate.
So, yeah, very strange. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you, because I want to close this segment talking about how, because the other big question is, who's the winner here? And of course, all the Trumpsters are saying, oh, Trump won this fight because Elon took his tweet down.
Anything bad? Like you say one bad thing and you're like, you hate Trump.
Yeah. He blasphemy. He took his tweet down, but there was this comment for one thing. He says I'll apologize as soon as there's a full dump of the Epstein files, which of course there clearly won't be. But as to all that, I mean, the real question is politically, okay, so who won this skirmish? Here's the thing I don't think people appreciate. Elon Musk is not running for office. Elon Musk is not a politician. Now, you could say that Trump will have hurt Elon financially. Here's the thing. Trump's financial misfortunes won't affect any of us. Trump's political misfortunes affect all of us. And yes, I understand Trump is termed out, but he cares about his legacy. He cares about the midterms. He doesn't want to lose the House and the Senate and face impeachment. He doesn't want to be replaced by a Democrat in the future, might undo everything he does ever again. And Elon has the ability to damage Trump politically. This has damaged Trump politically because and he has drawn a line in the sand on this bill. He has said, my goal is to kill this bill. This bill that passed the House by one vote, that's in limbo now in the Senate, that now has lost Marjorie Taylor Greene in the House. So, I mean, this goes back to whenever I do political training, we do this lecture called The Real Nature of Politics. And that politicians live and die in the margins. They can't afford to lose any major constituency. And when you have someone with Elon Musk who has the ability to spend millions of dollars supporting your candidates and your issues and your campaigns, who has now walked away, that is a huge, huge setback for the Republicans. Now he's talking about starting a third party, which if he follows through with, well, first of all, it will not succeed because we're a two-party country. That's the way it is. But it could damage the Republicans catastrophically. I mean, that's what they chalk up Clinton's win in 1982 to Ross Perot, wealthy guy running third party in the presidential race. If Elon fields an America party, as he calls it, and the Democrats are not going to break ranks with their party, the Republicans might, though, because there is this sentiment of people out there who are fed up with the GOP establishment, who are fed up with the spending, among many other issues. It could do horrible damage to the Republican Party. Now, I know a lot of people would say that's terrible because they'll put the Democrats in power. But again, this is how the Democrats operate. They say we are going to beat up on anyone who goes against us on any of our issues. And that's why there's no dissension in the Democrat Party. Elon would do damage. He would do damage, but that is the power that he actually has. And at the end of the day, Trump could hurt Elon financially, but billionaires have a way of protecting their money. They just do. You know, they have put options and things that they can make money even when they lose money. But Trump is in the far more vulnerable position. And most politicians, the last thing they would ever do is burn their biggest supporters. And if Elon wants to prove to Trump the hard way that you will not dismiss me, he can prove it.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's read a couple of chats. Algan News says Elon won. He gets some of the left to stop firebombing him and company value back. Well, that's a minor thing. We'll see. We'll see about that. They'll probably firebomb him anyway. Mark Ashley Price says Elon is a loser and a nobody. Sorry, pal. Elon's still the world's wealthiest man. Algan says you don't have to release the Epstein files. Leaks happen all the time. Well, they haven't happened. So apparently they're very hard.
Yeah, only other things leak. That kind of stuff.
Yep. Betty Nelson says, I absolutely don't believe Trump ever had a Diddy party with Epstein, period. Yeah, he probably didn't. I don't believe that either. But that doesn't mean you can be implicated in some way. There's some reason those files ain't coming out, folks. And it's not because necessarily just of Trump.
Well, do you think they even exist? Do you think they got rid of them?
Pam Bondi says they exist.
Pam Bondi also had all those people come to the White House and gave them all these stupid binders with nothing in them. Yeah. She's ridiculous.
Yeah. Betty says Elon has a lot to lose. Also, not politically, only financially. The left has been saying that he didn't spend so much. He didn't get his EV mandates. I'm not a fan of Elon and glad he's out. He made it about money. I don't think he did. He made it about taxpayers' money. I think Elon said for many times, he said many times, the worst problem we have in our country is our national debt. We have to get it under control. And he passionately started the DOGE organization to do just that. And he got nothing but spit up.
The whole thing was weird, though. I mean, remember when Vivek left? That was all strange too with him. I don't know.
Well, Vivek, who knows what his political ambitions? Well, who knows political ambitions? Or he wants to be governor of Ohio. So
yeah, he's running for governor, but
yeah, I mean, I think
he was kind of pushed out of DOGE.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird how people who are always saying Trump didn't need the money, he didn't need to be to have a target put on his back, but out of the goodness of his heart, Trump decided to save America. But when Elon Musk comes out and says, I'm going to put my foot down, do everything we can to get us out of this national debt virus, shame on Elon. It's all about the money for Elon. Yeah, right. Sorry, guys. I ain't buying it. But anyway, so that was one of the big stories this week. That was, and let me make sure I didn't, because I'm sure I did. I always do. I always miss things. And the moment the show is over, I regret them. Last week, I had the best joke. We were talking about, look at me all week. We were talking about Glenn Greenwald, who had a thing for financial domination. And I forgot to say that, folks, if you're out there and you have a fetish for financial domination, you are more than welcome to give all your disposable income over to Rescue Michigan. I'll be proud to be your financial master. I won't tell a soul. I will keep your secret. I will not post it on X the way Greenwald did. But anyway, I missed that one. Was there anything I forgot to talk about?
Donations are a good thing, huh?
They do enable us to do things. Betty Nelson says, I'm on Social Security. Elon made us all worried for nothing. You don't think the national debt's something to worry about? It's funny because one of those things that was in the countdown on our stream tonight was Trump posting 13 years ago that we actually financed the Chinese military with the interest we pay on the debt, because you know who owns a lot of that debt is China. So we're actually paying interest
For their military.
for the national debt. So
Awesome. Great.
yeah, it's great. I'll tell you what, I found a nice transition here. This was what Trump said. He had a phone call with Putin. Now, you recall just a little over a week ago, because I think we talked about this last Sunday, but Ukraine carried out this attack on Russia, which Zelensky was laughing about with Martha Raddatz, saying it was only us, entirely us, no intelligence operations, not the U.S., not MI6. No, we did this all by ourselves. Nobody. I mean, he was literally like cracking up laughing as he's saying this to Martha Raddatz. He could not keep a straight face. We did. No other intelligence agency in the world knew about this. We just carried out an attack on Russia's strategic bombers, and all this. So they carried out this. First off, amazing how cold-blooded it would be to carry out a terror attack on Russian civilians at the same time you strike the nuclear assets, so that the whole terror attack on civilians the rest of the world doesn't even hear about. But yeah, they blew up a train full of innocent people. The very same time, they also carried out a bombing. They claimed 40 planes were taken, but it was like 3 or 5. But still, they attacked Russia's strategic nuclear arsenal, which is like grounds for a nuclear response. So Trump had a call with Putin earlier this week, and Trump didn't post any kind of like really bombastic. Had a great call with Putin. None of that greatness stuff. He also didn't have any kind of threats. None of that. Putin just suddenly went crazy kind of stuff. None of those threats. Just a very kind of cold. Actually, it's funny what Trump said. He said, yesterday when I spoke with President Putin, I gave him this analogy. Sometimes, and perhaps this sounds pessimistic, but it happens that two children are fighting fiercely in the park. They hate each other. You don't want them to stop. You try to separate them, but they don't let you stop them. And then maybe it's better to let them fight a little before you separate them. I told Putin this analogy. I said, Mr. President, we may have to continue to fight and suffer because both sides suffer before they can be stopped. It's a well-known situation. Two people fight. Sometimes they're given a little time before they intervene. It happened in hockey and sports. The referees let the players wrestle for a little while, then they separate them. This is what Trump said to the media. This is what Trump said this week about his call with Putin. So
he didn't say it was a perfect phone call? That was just Ukraine.
No, just sometimes you just let people fight, which, I guess that's what he was thinking about with Elon Musk or something. But I mean, first off, this is what Trump says on national television. We just said, let's just let him fight sometimes. We're just going to let him fight for a little bit. And, I guess, well, first off, so much for solving the conflict in 24 hours or 100 days or whatever. Just let them fight for a little bit longer. But then, what in the world is Trump talking about? What parent says, yeah, sometimes when kids are fighting, you can't break them up, so you let them fight some more. Really? Any parents in the chat want to comment on that? When your kids are punching each other, kicking each other, and fighting, you say, hey, let them fight a little bit longer. Let them get tired. Let them injure each other first. Then we'll separate them. After that, we'll separate them.
People might. That's kind of old school, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Let them work it out.
Is that the rules in hockey, folks? That what happens in hockey when the players get into a fist fight. The referees are like, let's wait for a little bit. Let's wait for a little bit before we separate them. They don't immediately separate them. We let them injure each other first. That's how that works. Sure, it does. So there's that. But besides all that, also, by the way, does Trump realize what he's saying? Like he's this parent. And Ukraine and Russia are just these kids fighting each other. Not like he's been arming Ukraine. The United States has been arming Ukraine throughout his first term of office, plus Biden's term. And like we're actively, like this whole article in the New York Times a few weeks ago, every single attack on Russia that Ukraine has waged in the past 3 years was orchestrated and coordinated with the U.S. intelligence and U.S. weapons and U.S. military personnel and CIA agents on the ground and U.S. signals intelligence and British signals intelligence and NATO operators and NATO mercenaries. Yeah, we're just a neutral parent in the world letting these two kids fight. It's bizarre, and I've got to say, I think well, first of all, let's talk about how this call probably really went, because it certainly wasn't the way Trump said it went. I think it was probably this. Putin first, he asks Trump. This is one thing that they did say officially happened. Trump was asked, "Did you know about this attack?" And Trump said, "No, of course we didn't." Now, that might be true. CNN claims that Pete Hegseth watched the attack happen. That's probably a lie. Probably British intelligence was involved in this, and that's part of their frame up, because they hate Trump and they hate Hegseth, and they want the effect of the attack, but they don't want to be blamed for it, and they're happy to blame Trump for it. But probably almost certainly someone in the CIA knew, but there's plausible deniability. They don't tell the people upstairs. Probably the CIA is still carrying out directives that Biden gave them, and just Trump doesn't know about them, and so never got rescinded. But Russia is going to probably get to the bottom of who knew about this, because they can reverse engineer this stuff now that it's happened. And I'll bet you Putin's not very happy. So apparently Trump said, and Trump did say this. He says, I asked him not to respond harshly, and Putin very strongly said there would be a harsh response, which is probably coming any day now. Maybe Ukraine will declare this as no longer a special military operation, but a counterterrorism operation. In fact, I was just listening to some people saying high-level Russian officials have initiated the process of allowing for Ukraine's top officials to be assassinated. It's not something that Russia can normally do, but like the president can ask for the authority from their version of Congress to make that possible, because what Ukraine did with the civilians was an act of terrorism, and Zelensky's admitted he did it. So the situation is going to escalate very, very quickly, very soon. And once again, and I think this time for the last time, Trump was given an off-ramp and he didn't take it. Because he could have said, this was a terrorist attack, the bombing of these civilians. This was a nuclear threat, attacking nuclear bombers. And Ukraine carried this out. We will no longer support them. That could have been an off-ramp. This is threatening nuclear war. This is threatening nuclear war. And I'm not going to subject the American people to another day of having to worry about whether or not we're going to be nuked. We are out of this. Trump could have said that, but he didn't. And I've said it before. I'll say it again, folks. Trump will be blamed when Russia wins. Whether it's his fault or not, he will be blamed for it. And he has had now at least 4 different off-ramps he could have taken, and he chose not to. Mark Ashley Price, Adam, are you anti-Trump? You sound like it, lol. Hey, look, man, I'm just calling the events as I see them. I wish this wasn't happening. I started the show praising Trump for doing great things in Los Angeles right now. Trump has chosen not to take an off-ramp on Ukraine. That's,
So what do you think's behind it then? Like, is it who's chirping in his ear? Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio? I mean, what's going on?
I think that's a big part of it too. Yeah, I think absolutely. So apparently, there's rumors now that Trump is trying to water down Lindsey Graham's supposed threatened sanctions bill. So for those who don't know, the sanctions bill Lindsey Graham's been talking about and yapping about for the past 2 weeks, he's got 82 senators, he says, with what he calls bone-crushing sanctions to place on Russia. The thinking was, after Russia walks away from the Istanbul agreements, then that just shows they don't want peace, and so therefore they need to be sanctioned. What's actually happened was Ukraine walked away, even though Russia could have and should have and almost was ready to, but then Ukraine did anyway. Ukraine, literally just this week, the one thing that they did in the last Istanbul meeting was say, okay, we'll exchange debt. And Russia shows up with 6,000 Ukrainian bodies in a freezer, and Ukraine doesn't show up to receive the bodies. So the one thing that they agreed to in Istanbul, Ukraine reneges on. Why? I don't know. People are speculating. Maybe because they don't want to afford to pay the families. Maybe because they don't want to acknowledge how many Ukrainians have been lost in the Kursk debacle. Whatever the reason is. So anyway, so Lindsey Graham is out yapping about these sanctions. The sanctions, there's no more sanctions to even be put on Russia. The sanctions are going to be now on any nation that does business with Russia, i.e. China, i.e. India, if you buy Russian oil, we'll sanction you, is what Lindsey Graham's sanctions bill is, which he says has 82 Senate and it does have 82 Senate co-sponsors. So anyway, the rumor is that these last few days, Trump has been making calls to the Senate, to Lindsey Graham's office, trying to get him to water down the sanctions. Like, wait, well, why don't you just do this? Put out a statement of administration policy that says, we oppose the Lindsey Graham bill. This interferes with our negotiations with China on the trade deal. This interferes with our negotiations with Russia and Ukraine on the peace deal. We oppose this bill in its current form. Period, paragraph, end of story. Dead bill. Yeah, 82 senators co-sponsored it. A co-sponsorship is not a roll call vote on the Senate floor, folks. They don't automatically all vote for it. Senators all the time come up with every excuse to, oh, well, this thing changed and therefore my position changed. It doesn't mean the bill's going to pass the House. The House is far, far, far more subject to concerns about getting reelected because they have to come up every 2 years. They're all up for reelection this next year. They don't have as much money as U.S. senators do for their campaigns. They don't want to cross the MAGA base. So, yeah, bill might pass the Senate if they even get a vote on it, which they won't have to, because with one phone call, Trump can kill any bill. But again, Trump will bully and browbeat and threaten Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, but never Lindsey Graham. But yeah, there's definitely an implied threat with Lindsey Graham. If you don't go along with the U.S. Senate on Ukraine, then we're not going to go along with you on anything else. We're going to block all your bills. We're going to let the Democrats win, and then we'll impeach. They'll impeach you. And if you think that is a bluff, remember what happened in 2020 when Mitch McConnell went to Trump and said, guess what? If you pardon Julian Assange, if you pardon Edward Snowden, then we might impeach you. So that might happen. That might be happening. That might be happening right now. That's my thinking. But it might also be that Trump doesn't know what he wants to do. I think the fact that Marco Rubio is his national security advisor is really dangerous.
I forgot both. Yeah.
Kash Patel in the Rogan interview spouts on and on about Russia and China are the reason for the fentanyl crisis. Russia is responsible for the fentanyl crisis, Kash Patel says. So Trump doesn't know what to think. So yeah, I think Trump has been cowed against doing the right thing, which is just speaking the damn truth about Zelensky and about the whole Russia thing. Just come out and say the whole fear and hatred of Russia comes from a couple of things. One is the attempt to delegitimize my first term in office as president. And second, because all of Europe just is afraid of Russia, especially Britain. And they've been funding Ukraine and their military. They were carrying out crimes against ethnic Russians in Ukraine since 2014. They overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2014 to put in a government that wanted to go to war with Russia. It's a war that they wanted, and I'm ending it. And if Trump just spoke the truth about that, the way he goes after Elon Musk, MAGA would be with him. MAGA would be with him. But he just can't do it. And I think it's too late at this point. I think it's too late. Because at this point, if he changes his tune, they'll be like, why'd you change your tune? You could have said this from day one. He could have cut off aid to Ukraine on January 21st, but he didn't do it. And now he doesn't know what to do. Because Russia is, I think, preparing for something big against Ukraine. Perhaps even Britain. I mean, not like a nuclear strike, but maybe that Oreshnik's going to come back into play. Remember that, guys? That new weapon they tested out that is like ultra hypersonic. What's the MIRV stand for? Like multiple independent reentry vehicle weapon. They dropped one in November that was inert, and it did colossal damage because that's what happens when an object hits something at Mach 10. And yeah. So there's talk about Russia taking hard action now against Ukraine. What's the United States going to do then? Decision time is coming, and Trump can't just keep putting this off. He can't just keep putting this off. Merck says MAGA is nothing without Trump. Well, Trump won't be here forever, folks. He's got 4 more years in office, three and a half more years in office. What's going to happen then? Hope Trump makes the most of his short time in office. By the way, another person who I have to give some credit to this, because this might have been what got Trump's attention, because Trump did definitely seem to turn a bit on the Ukraine issue this week. And Mike Flynn, of all people, who we've said some bad things about when Scott McMahon was on our show. But here's what Mike Flynn wrote. This might have gotten Trump's attention. He was, after all, Trump's very first national security advisor. Here's what he said. While most of America remains blissfully uninformed by our establishment press, two of the world's 2 greatest superpowers are being manipulated by dark forces inside and outside our government into a major military confrontation that no country wants and no sane person would ever want. I have no role, but after a long career in military intelligence, I've made a point to cultivate my information from what I can piece together. I have deep concerns about who is behind this march to war. My recommendations for how our nation and the West can avoid a major military confrontation with Russia. I believe the American deep state is staffed by those with a deep, visceral, and irrational hatred for Russia, and these persons conspired to box in Trump's decision-making throughout the Russiagate hoax. During the time when the Soviet Union was expanding and infiltrating government, I was an outspoken anti-communist. But despite the lies being told by our deep state, Russia is not the Soviet Union and Putin is not Stalin. Even today, years after the Russiagate hoax has been exposed, Trump's effort to bring peace are met with resistance. The establishment press, deeply influenced and even sometimes controlled by our deep state, labeled Trump and those who work with him Putin's puppets. These voices come from the establishment press and reflect the views of the deep state, not the American people, not the MAGA movement, should be disregarded, if not mocked. Trump should be mocking Lindsey Graham right now. Anyway, this goes on and on and on. Wow. Don't read the whole thing. I do not believe the escalation against Russia's strategic bomber fleet was authorized by or coordinated with President Trump. Rather, my view is the deep state is acting outside the control of the elected leadership of our nation. I believe these persons in our deep state are engaged in a deliberate effort to provoke Russia into a major confrontation with the West, including the United States. It is time now to take aggressive action against those who abuse their authority. And then he goes on about himself for a bit. The deep state's a threat to peace. Trump's faced assassination, talking about Kennedy, yada, yada. Trump should distance himself from certain Western leaders, such as German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who he met with this week, and to Trump's credit, mocked. Merz tried to invoke the Nazi Holocaust in front of Trump, and Trump's like, yeah, it didn't go well for you, did it? Because he was trying to talk about Russia is responsible for the next Holocaust. He's like, no, weren't you guys the Nazis in World War II? Anyway. So Flynn says, I urge Trump to distance himself from demonstrated warmongers in our own government, chief among those, Lindsey Graham. Finally, I urge the American people to stand prayerfully and resolutely with President Trump as he cleans house and acts in pursuit of the type of peace which President Kennedy embraced. Weird, though. Trump ain't cleaning house. He's removing people like Elon Musk, not people like Little Marco, not people like Keith Kellogg. Unbelievable. So good on Flynn for having pointed that out.
How long is that? How many points is it?
12.
Wow. Okay.
It's a long one. But anyway, if that's what got Trump's attention on this whole thing, good. That's something at least. But yeah, so there was a story in the Wall Street Journal was the one where I got that story about how Trump is saying he wants to soften Lindsey Graham's Russia sanctions bill. How about just confront Lindsey Graham and say, no, we're not going to war with Russia. Russia's not our enemy. Why can't Trump just say that? Russia is not our enemy. Like, that is what's going to wreck his presidency, is that they can't let go of this. We got to have a fight with Russia. And it's going to come to a head. So anyway. So we got one more story for this week, Patty. Involving this former township supervisor named Kurt Heise, who I guess has been on a warpath talking about how what's that noise? Is that Lyle Lovett? Talking about fat babies. When did we start talking about Kurt Heise and Lyle Levitt just starts singing about fat babies?
So weird.
Kurt Heise has been very angry at losing an election. Actually, is what he's really angry about. But yeah, so Heise, I was posting some things on X recently. In fact, here I'll just share on the screen because here, hold on, let me put it up where I can make it full screen so it'll be nice and big. So as you can see, I was on X speaking my mind, as I often do, talking about the whole Musk versus Trump thing. And as I said then and say now, Musk was right, and the people that are siding with Musk are the principled people, like I just said, Massey and Rand. The goblins siding with Trump are repeating his lies and bullshit. We just went over all that stuff. Anyway, so Robert McCurdy, one of actually, let me go back because that was he's one of Heise's buddy boys. But Heise himself posted something about this first. Let me hold on. I got a big pile of screenshots here. I got to figure out which one's which here. So where was it where Heise was popping off about this? I got it here somewhere. Where is it? Well, I'll tell you what, I can find it on my own Twitter feed because I did post it myself. Or was it just this? Maybe it was just this guy. Was it Kurt Heise himself?
There was
No, there was something else Kurt Heise posted himself. Let me find it. I'll find it here. Dwayne says Dirty McCurdy is watching. Yeah, I'll bet he is.
Probably.
Anyway, well, good. We were actually talking earlier about whether or not we should even bother with this stuff because because Kurt Heise is like a washed up has-been now. And maybe he's just kind of like happy that I'm talking about him. But, at the same time, I find it amusing for now. I'll shut up about Heise because, like I said, he's a washed up has-been and nothing he says is relevant. But I think at least for the purpose of this discussion and for our own amusement, we should at least talk about what he said most recently. But anyway, so Kurt Heise was whining about me, which led to these various posts on Facebook complaining about the extreme people that have installed. This is how they describe the people of Plymouth. They have installed Chuck Kermy. Here we go. No, wait, hold on. I'm almost there, guys. Almost there. Here we go.
Oh.
I think I went too far. Shoot. Okay, hold on. Was it this one? Yeah, here we go. No, because this was from yesterday. Shoot, I found the exact same thing. Anyway. So Kurt Heise goes off and whines about me. So, and he's using one of my same posts. So then he goes and says that Kermy has been installed by Rescue Michigan and by you and me, Patty.
Libertarian anarchists.
Oh, that's right. I find the crown. That'll help me find it.
The Kingmaker.
Yeah, the Kingmaker is what we came back with. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I finally found the dang post. So here's where it is. So this was where it started. Was on X. Where here's the post I was talking about. So I forgot to talk about this. We were talking about the Trump Elon fight, and we're talking about at the same time this happens. This is also this is back on Tuesday. So Trump posts on his Truth Social this link to a Washington Post article. In fact, I should probably find this post actually too. But anyway, Trump posts on Truth Social nothing more than a link to a Washington Post article presented without comment, because Trump's just acting as a news feed. He's the president of the United States. He's just being a news feed. Mm-hmm. A link to a Washington Post article that says that Trump can cripple Putin with bone-crushing sanctions, just repeating Lindsey Graham's own talking points. And so I post this. Trump is now posting the retarded shit opinions of the Washington Post, a paper that hates Trump and wants him to be destroyed, posts an article that says to Trump, you can really hurt Putin with sanctions. Like, because they know, first off, that's not going to work, but let Trump try it. If they work, then they hurt Russia, and Washington Post is happy. If they fail, it hurts Trump, and Washington Post is happy. So the Post cleverly posts this article. It's like, it's a win-win for us if Trump acts on this at all. Trump posts the article on Truth Social without any commentary. Like, what are you trying to say, Trump? Like, if this is a bad idea, when I post, look at the stupid Washington Post, what a terrible idea this is. No, presented without comments in between like an article from Breitbart or something. Trump just posts on Washington Post. Anyway, so Heise goes on X and posts, these are the same people who helped install your new Plymouth supervisor.
Facebook. Yeah.
Facebook, whatever. Like, first off, like I think I went to one Kermie event once. I wasn't a consultant for Kermie's campaign at all.
All right, it wasn't even a Kermie event. You came to Jon Stewart had an event with Chairman Hoekstra was there. That's why we were all there. Oh, at his office. Remember?
That's what I know. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you all address me as Kingmaker. I'm the reason that Kermie beat Kurt Heise in Plymouth Township.
Yeah, it's all you, Adam. It's all you.
I'll take it. But seriously, though, this guy lost his race 5 months ago, and he's still whining about it.
10 months ago.
10 months ago. Oh, yeah, because he lost in the primary. lost in the primary.
By 13 and a half points.
And this is, I mean, look at the word install. Like, there wasn't an election, folks, in which the people of Plymouth Township voted to remove Kurt Heise as their nominee for the township supervisor because they couldn't stand his babyish antics on X or Facebook or whatever. So I made this post. From now on, you all address me as Kingmaker. But seriously, Heise belongs in the record book. The most butthurt, sore loser in history. Because really, the guy lost his race, and he's whining about me 10 months later. It's just kind of pathetic and sad. So anyway, so there was this.
I think that last sentence, though. Go back, please, Adam.
Oh yeah, okay, sure. What?
Go to that tweet. That last sentence you had is just right on.
Yeah.
Posts like this, oozing with contempt for them. He hates Plymouth Township. He doesn't like. You don't act like this if you like somebody or something. Like, this is contempt, and it was like this from before when he was inviting Meyer to sue the township, when he was going behind, bringing like a racetrack to the community, and that was to an area was completely not zoned for, and just one thing after another after another.
Yeah.
In posts like that nonstop. He put a post about me and Amber. Remember, if my picture on his page, if this person comes to your door, tell me, I'm going to tell the Attorney General. I was a volunteer on a campaign.
Yeah,
he's threatening me with lawfare, which he did follow through with someone else in the community. So but it's, anyway, there's just, he's got a screw loose. Yeah. The first rule of politics is you don't ever attack constituents. You attack the opponent. Oh, he hates it. He constantly goes after citizens, like nonstop, blocks them. Then he's now unblocked everybody. Like there's something wrong with him. Yeah. There's something wrong with him. So, and he has a vendetta. And does he think like attacking you and me is going to help him get elected in No, it didn't work before. This was the same kind of messaging he was using, like nonstop, in 20 mailers that he sent, and he sent mailings out with like your quotes in it or something. No, not me, but I'm saying it was the same kind of like lies and stuff that he was saying about Kermie. Like, yeah, I mean, everybody knows Kermie. He's lived here his whole life, 70 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so maybe when the election comes around again in 3.5 years from now. Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, like you said, he's washed up, but he can't, but he's it's just so weird. Like, so anyway, so after that post, his buddy, Robert McCurdy, goes on Facebook. Do you know who this Robert McCurdy guy is? Because I don't know anything about him. He's a Heise stooge. He's a keyboard warrior. How sad is that? He's a stalker too. Like they both are. He goes on. One guy was driving by in the neighborhood to go to somebody else's house, and he was taking pictures of the man's car and posting it on Facebook. Wow. Like, he's nuts. And he was involved with Plymouth Canton school stuff. They did not treat our friend Nathan very well at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's bad, and that's going to just come back and hurt the school board elections next year.
Yeah.
So him and this other guy, Steve, I mean, you know, they want to win in the school board, but they behave this way, and all it doesn't gain them any support, and they're children.
Yeah. I mean, so this is McCurdy. Plymouth Township Republicans, you need to know the organizers of this X account served as a consultant to Chuck Kermey's campaign.
Yeah. Another lie, flat out lie, complete lie.
Yeah. I mean, that's the least of it, but yeah, it's true. I'm not a consultant. Never was a consultant for Chuck Kermey's campaign, but they will turn Plymouth Township over to Democrat rule with their ridiculous tactics. Seems like this guy's the one that's going to turn Plymouth over to
exactly
Democrat control.
Yeah, and none of them, neither one have any impulse control. They are very unlikable.
Yeah,
they don't seem to like Plymouth Township because they wouldn't behave this way if they did.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Anyway, so Fat Baby.
They're not even, like, there's no shame. Like, they're not embarrassed for themselves. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing, but I mean, what can you do? Kurt Heise is just he's a fat baby, and it's just kind of the way that is. So you know, you just got to kind of roll with it. I'll show you. I thought about making this for the thumbnail, but it didn't work out. But I did actually make this a thumbnail. Hold on, let me put it on the screen here. Here we go.
So anyway, folks, yeah, it's not just Trump and Elon that your local politics is.
Here we go.
Fat babies make me sick. Fat babies make me ill.
Yeah, Dwayne says McCurdy lives about 200 feet from me. Oh shoot, man, you got to move. That's a tough situation.
Yeah. Well, now he's coming up with Dugan, right? He's saying we're going to hand over Plymouth Township to the Dems, and he's hosting fundraisers for Dugan in the city of Plymouth.
So the guy who actually is complaining that is complaining that we're gonna lose Plymouth Township to the Democrats. You mean he actually is? He actually is.
He's politically homeless. Like he's treading water. He's grasping to find a place, to find a lane, because he's got nothing. But you can't behave like that. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So,
you see what I mean, Chet? He's like, doesn't he look like a fat baby to you? His head's the right proportion, you know.
But yeah, maybe he's going to try to be lieutenant governor. Hey, we'll see. His chances at the White House were squashed. That's for sure.
His chances of being lieutenant governor are like the square of the chances of McDuggan being the regular governor.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He tried to be U.S. attorney here.
No.
No.
Anyway, all right, we've been going for over an hour. It's been kind of a while. You got any events coming up, Patty?
Yeah, we have a candidate forum in the city of Plymouth. So I know I mentioned Livonia earlier. So this is in advance of absentee ballots going out for the primary. Those are going to hit people's mailboxes around June 26th. So we have a primary election in the city of Plymouth to get from 9 candidates to 8.
Cool.
So we have to go through an entire election to eliminate one person.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything that anybody's dropped out, I guess. But so, and then
Kurt Heise is a perennial candidate, apparently.
Yeah, he didn't get very far in that. My understanding, I don't know. That was way before my time. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. It's a free event, nonpartisan. Obviously, it's a city thing. So we're going to be talking about local issues, you know, not Trump, like nothing, just local stuff.
There's a link. PCRCMI.com is the website. So there you go.
Yeah. So you can
we've got our monthly meeting next Tuesday for the Washington Republican Club. And I've been busy with our art fair booth, but we'll talk about that probably closer to the date because it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But one more thing before we go, then we'll call it a stream. But today, June 8th, is USS Liberty Day, the day that 58 years ago, most extraordinary event ever. 34 American servicemen were killed and another 171 wounded in an attack on an American Navy boat. The only incident for which there has not been a ferocious American military response. Wonder why that might be. So I did put a link in the description. I don't want to do a whole segment about it because it's already late and we've covered a lot of topics tonight. But you can actually see the link in the description for Scott Ritter has posted a nice summary of the whole incident and what exactly happened, why Israel was able to just bomb the living daylights out of an American ship and nothing ever happened. So there's the Israel attacks America USS Liberty Remembrance Day. It's a 23-minute video, and there's been a few other documentaries made about the USS Liberty. But if you guys don't know about the USS Liberty, I think we are close to the point where all the survivors of that event have passed away, or they're close to it because it was 58 years ago. There might be one or two that are still around. But it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. And yeah, someone in the chat post, you aren't allowed to talk about the Liberty. Yeah, well, that's why I'm talking about it. So, yeah, crazy story. Crazy story. Wonder what they were doing there. So check out that video. The link is in the description. And I think that's all I got for this week, folks. Hopefully a happier week next week. You know, again, look, folks, I know every time I criticize Trump, people get mad. I only hope that Trump starts doing fewer things that are worthy of criticism, you know, and unfortunately, I'd just like him to start treating his friends better than his enemies. So we'll see what happens. We shall see. Until then, guys, I guess we'll do more of a state and local stream next week, I hope. So unless something crazy happens in Russia or wherever else. So until then,
Is next week Father's Day?
it probably is. Yeah, because today's not Father's Day, I hope. All right, guys, until next time. Thanks, Raw Dude for Liberty. Until then, peace out.